Okay, so I done a video. Can't remember how long ago it's been. It's been not a year, but it was like one of the first videos I did for YouTube, and it was kind of like I'd done these two videos on BitChute for an indie idea I had for a comic, and then I took the stuff from both of those on BitChute and just made them into one video on YouTube. Anyway, it was supposed to be a one and done thing, but then I thought, you know what, maybe I should just make a series of indie ideas and just put it out there for people to get inspiration from, or maybe it'll give someone else an idea they can work with. So I thought I'd do another one, make this into a series of ideas that I probably. Because the thing about me is I'm good at formulating ideas and maybe working on blueprints. I'm not so good at using them. That's probably one of the downsides to me with writing is that's one of the upsides to writing fan fiction is there is the benefit of there's already a built-in lore and world, and you just if you do research enough, you can make your own story within it. It's a lot harder when you're making your own. That's probably the most difficult part of the whole make your own argument is it's hard. It's very hard. But anyway, yeah, this is an idea I had. Can't remember how long. Not that long ago. This is sometime after Count Dankula made his video about Ned Kelly, and it gave me an idea for a western because I've had an idea for two westerns. One of them was a steampunk western, well, a steampunk and a cowpunk western, and then there was this one which is more of like a science fiction western. I have no idea what to call it yet, as of right now. As of recording, I'm not still sure. It's just an idea. Thought I would write down some of the concepts. Well, no, not write down, but maybe just put some stuff in here on the concept and roll from there. But yeah, the main idea was take a science fiction western and take inspiration from various subjects in the West and Australia with bushrangers and use that in a story. And this is the idea I kind of walked away with, and I thought I'd put it on here so that maybe someone else could find some use for it. And it's basically like, imagine a world that's futuristic and it's very science fiction, but it has some Western stuff. Like, it has assault rifles still. It's kind of like, think Borderlands. It has revolvers and assault rifles and all that. It's also kind of like Destiny 2. Like, Destiny 1 was a dumpster fire, but Destiny 2 looks like it could be interesting, but then again, I haven't played it yet, so I have no idea if I'd be disappointed with it or not. Anyway, the idea is basically you have a gunslinger. Actually, that might be the name of it. I'm not entirely sure. And it's a very Western setting, and none of the characters have full names. They all have, like, a one-note name, like a first name, and that's it. So the protagonist would be Aaron. He's, like, the gunslinger. You have Ringo, the love interest. Ned, the father, and you only see him in flashbacks. Luke, the antagonist. Although for some reason I keep naming all my antagonists Luke. I did the same thing in the steampunk western one. Like, for some reason I hate that name. Koo, the dog. And this is as far as I've gotten with it. And it kind of just follows Aaron, this gunslinger who he's actually kind of like he is heavily influenced by the idea of Ned Kelly in that he was wronged by the law did wrong, and there's other inspirations for him. Other inspirations were Billy the Kid and Jesse James. They were both also wronged by society and the law, and both kind of snapped. Well, no, not both, but Aaron did, and he kind of got revenge on some people, and it has since become like this lone gunslinger. Well, not alone. There are other people he travels with, and he ends up in a small town where he's basically like, yeah, we're going to just stay here for a while and see how it goes. Because they do this in every town they go to. They just go into a new place and hope trouble doesn't find them. And the story is basically just that. It's kind of, it's also got some inspiration from Deadwood, if you've ever seen that. Like, there's a crime lord. That's also something that was in the steampunk one. I might have to do a video on that one also. It's got a crime lord, a mayor, a saloon, like a bunch of different people. But it has science fiction technology, it's also influenced again by Destiny 2. And Aaron is kind of like this, like an enigmatic but very charismatic individual. So he's kind of like Cade, something from Destiny 2, mixed with Aaron Black. Like, he's kind of a loner. He has a very good personality, or I would like him to have one. a very good shooter and someone you definitely would not want to fuck with. And he just finds himself entangled with these various events in town, and ultimately, certain things from his past eventually track him down, and he has to deal with it. That is the main plot of the story. I wouldn't know what else to say. There's definitely a theme of your past ultimately catches up to you, and if you don't confront it, it will be more detrimental than it was originally. You would also see a theme of like individuality versus conformity, or should an individual do what's best for him or what's best for the community as a whole? And there's kind of some middle ground there. You have like I also wouldn't mind touching on some philosophy with that one, but again, I have no idea what I'll do with this one or if I'll do anything with it at all. There's also some argument of like who should be allowed to have guns and who shouldn't. Oh, actually, no, I might keep that out because I hate that debate. I hate the gun debate. It is so annoying, and the people who go against guns, they're some of the most sanctimonious pricks I've seen with no self-awareness whatsoever. But all around, it would just be a very Wild West type of story with science fiction technology. So you have stuff like from Destiny 2, like you have a tripwire that looks like a very thin, small thing that you stick to a wall in Destiny 2, and it lets out this little red light thing that and it's like a tripwire. You trip it, it goes up. There's something like that in the story. You have revolvers, assault rifles, sniper rifles, shotguns. Like anything you could think of, I would probably want to include it. Knives. And that would be it. One thing also I probably would like to see it having it would be, you see the protagonist gradually sort of opening up about what happened to him, because he's kind of like, I don't want to talk about it, I do not want to talk about it, I do not want to talk about it, it was messed up, it wasn't my fault, it was those squatters' fault. And just gradually reveal more information about like why he left home and what happened to his father and just all that. Either that or do flashbacks, hard to really say. But yeah, that's kind of the video. Again, this wasn't... Oh, not again, but this was definitely something I hadn't planned on. This was just an idea I had today, and I thought, you know what? What the hell? I've already done a video. I've been doing these videos about, like, what writers can learn from certain characters, and to be honest, I don't expect anyone to like those videos. I just did them because I wanted to do a series about something. And if people enjoy them, well, good. I hope they do. And but there's so much more I wish I could talk about. Like, maybe I could just do a series of chapters about that. But then again, I would have to actually learn certain words and learn about science fiction. And science fiction is a very tough thing to learn about because you have to actually learn certain stuff like how does formulas work, how do explosions work, how do certain smells work. Or something like, there's lots of shit you have to learn, because I'm a firm believer that if you're going to write something, you have to have some knowledge of that field that you're writing about. If not, you have to make shit up as you go along, and that's a pain in the ass, and I hate doing it. But anyway, that's the video. Yeah, so let me know what you think of this. If it gives you an idea for something, run with it. Just run with it. It's very... Like, I would want it to have a very Wild West feel, though, if I had it my way. And to give some more, like, information just on, like, the world of the story in which it takes place, it more or less takes place just in this territory known as the Frontier. There's no real name for it, and the idea is humanity came to this world, and they have an area where they live. The Frontier is like anyone can live out the way they want, and the area in which it takes place is part of this larger territory in the Frontier that humanity was allowed to sort of cultivate and work on, and one day incorporate into the society they were making. Like, the natives were allowed this, and it's this hard life. It's like living it's like living near the bush in Australia, or living on the frontier in the Old West. Because if you lived in the Old West, anything could kill you. Natives, outlaws, robber barons, anything could happen. And Aaron, the protagonist, he lived on the frontier with his father and brother. His mother died when he was very young. Like, she died not long after he was born. He barely remembers her. And he saw a very hard life. He saw people's dreams die. He saw generations of work die for nothing. He saw love die in vain. He saw people lose the ones they loved most. And it really shaped him as a person. He saw people killed over petty things like land or money or women, and he hated it. And he had seen what society was like on the inside. Like, there were times his father and brother took him to cities and in society just to see what it was like. And it wasn't that good. Like, he saw corruption on both the frontier and in society, and he was like, there was no real difference. The only difference was in society, people act all polite and nice and civil, and they act like they're not animals underneath. That was the experience Aaron had. That's what he took away from it. The only difference was, at least on the frontier, people wear the colors on their sleeves. They wear their colors proudly. They're honest about who they are. And he kind of sees the fault in the frontier also, because in the frontier, people think anything goes. Like that old song says, anything goes. That is what he was raised in. Like, he rarely saw the inside of cities, but whenever he did not like what he saw. He saw corruption. He saw like unpleasantness all around. And he was taught to shoot at a very young age, and he actually had to kill people at a young age, even before what happened to his family happened. And then after what happened to his family, he snapped. Like, he went on a one-man crusade. Well, not a one-man. He actually made friends along the way in his crusade against the people who wronged his family, who were essentially like the robber barons of the frontier. And that's it. Also, you have what's known as the Rangers. These are frontier soldiers on the frontier. They basically fight what are known as marauders. This is also something from the steampunk story. They actually have a similar thing. The country they belong to is called Ardol. Actually, no, I might have to make up a different name for the science fiction one. And yeah, Aaron saw kind of like the worst of people everywhere he went. It wasn't really until after his father and brother died or were murdered and he met other people that he started to see that, yeah, people are both messed up and also okay. People are okay. It's just he was only seeing the bad sides usually, and he was only shown the bad sides by his father because he basically wanted to show him that is civilization, a place where people gamble, drink, fuck, do whatever they please, follow any vice, and they've never had to suffer a day in their life. They've forgotten what suffering is like. And on the frontier, Aaron saw the flip side of that. He saw people who never knew peace or a day when someone wasn't trying to kill them. So he couldn't decide which was worse. Or the frontier where no one knew happiness for more than a couple seconds, or in the city where no one knew hardship, but they'd become stagnant, lazy, and kind of decadent. And he kind of was like in the middle. He was like, I don't like the frontier and I don't like society. Like, he sees the benefits of society. Society, at least, it's safe. But people have given up some of their freedoms in society. On the frontier, it's slightly different. Like, you're still allowed to have guns in society, but they've restricted how far you're allowed to go with it. On the frontier, you can have as many guns as you want, but you're always in danger. You always have to worry about something and its mother trying to kill you. Kind of like in the bush in Australia. Anything can happen, and you are fucked if you are not careful. And then that is like where he comes from, and where the story would take place, I would say, is like not as far along the frontier. It's somewhere in the middle, like it's between the frontier and the more developed area and civilization. So it's like closer to civilization than it is to the frontier, but it gets the problems from both sides. It gets the problems from civilization and the problems from the frontier. You always have someone either trying to kill you or rip you off. And it is not a pleasant place to be in, usually. And I don't know what the name of the town will be. It's very much like Deadwood from well, Deadwood the show. It's very much like that, but it's not as corrupt and it's not as violent. It's just you got a bunch of people trying to get by. And Aaron and his friends end up here, and they more or less throw their lot in with the town and say, you know what, things aren't great, but they could be worse. And it's got smuggling, a crime lord, a mayor, a bunch of authority figures who are thankfully better than the peacekeepers. Excuse me. And you also have hunters, like lots of different things for them to be involved with, and it's more or less a bounty hunter kind of, well, not a bounty hunter straight, like in the story, Aaron and his friends, they take just any job they'll do. Aaron just takes to doing bounty hunting more because it's what he's good at. Like, he's been an outlaw, so he knows the tricks of the trade, so he knows how to hunt them down. And the only difference is between him and the ones he's hunting is the ones he's hunting are usually the worst of the worst. They've committed some of the worst crimes you can commit. They've crossed most lines there are to cross, or if not all of them. And he can't stand that. Like, the way he looks at it is, okay, when I killed someone, it was because I had to. I didn't have a choice. When they killed someone, it was either for fun, they wanted something that person had, or they were bored out of their mind. That's how he looks at it. And another thing is, and this is probably something that comes up with him a lot, is Aaron deals with the idea of, like, if you spend a life killing, how do you live with that? Because he's kind of like Ned Kelly in that he has self-awareness. Like, Ned Kelly once said, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, I am not so blind as to think I have lived a blameless life. Aaron has a similar view. He's like, I've not led a blameless life. I know the things I did. I took lives. It wasn't pretty, and I'm not a good person for it. And if anything, I'm no better than some of the people I've killed. That was his mentality. No matter, even if the situation was something that could be justified, which it usually was, or, well, sometimes it was, he still kind of dwells on it. He doesn't let it show, but he does think about the people he's killed sometimes. He's like, was there another way? Could I have done something different? Could I, if I had just walked away, would they still be alive? Because he often thinks about all the people he's killed and all the widows he's made and all the children he's made fatherless. But he does think on that, and that does come up sometimes from his friends. Like, are you still moping about that? Come on, it's been, what, 5, 10 years? Move on. And his friends have actually kind of, like, Aaron's kind of the more tamer one out of his friends. His other friends, they've also killed people, but they aren't as bothered by it. Like, if not, well, they probably are, but they've learned to live with it. Aaron less so because he's the youngest. And he kind of is just, like, in the middle. He doesn't know whether he's a good person or a bad person anymore. He's like, I'm just me. I'm in the middle, and I hate it. Anyway, that's all I can really think to say about, like, this indie idea. That is it. If you like this one, feel free to use it. Like, I hope this gives you some ideas for your own stories. And have a nice day. Remember, the game was rigged from the start.